You're getting bad career advice.
Okay, Kyle, not from us, obviously.
Obviously, Kayla, we're all hits, no skips over here.
So we're going to be breaking down that insidious career advice that sounds good,
but leads you astray. Let's get into it.
We'll get to worst career advice in a minute. But first, Kyle, how often do you work from home?
You know the answer to this. I hate working from home, checking emails from bed, and the only human interaction is getting lunch delivered. I'll pass. So I'm in the office every day of the week.
I know, and you're very smug about the whole thing. Why do you come in every day?
That free cold brew on tap, duh. But really, there's just something about the energy of being around people all day that really gets me productive, creative, and happy to be working.
Well, I actually agree. I don't come in every day, but I do feel the positive vibes from being in an office.
Which is exactly why we love Industrious. Industrious is a co-working space that brings you everything you love about the office: daily breakfast, hello, bagel Mondays, coffee and espresso that are actually good, afternoon charcuterie spreads, happy hours every Thursday, and beautifully designed spaces. They got it all without any of the hassle.
Industrious has membership models that fit every working need, whether you're a freelancer who just wants to get out of the house or an enterprise looking for turnkey larger office space. And with over 250 plus locations, you can always find a workspace that works for you.
Try out Industrious for yourself with a day pass or a meeting room booking, now 50% off for Per My Last Email listeners. Visit industriousoffice.com/PMLE to get your discount or free tour.
That's industrious.com/PMLE for 50% off your first day pass or meeting room booking.
Okay, before we save you from the worst pieces of career advice, they sound so sweet, but they're actually quite terrible. I have one request. That is permylastemail@morningbrew.com. Email us there. Send us your either best career advice, like genuinely helpful, or some of the worst career advice you've ever received, because we might feature it in a future episode. We love hearing from you all, and we're very curious about what advice is floating out there. So send us an email, permylastemail@morningbrew.com.
Yeah, and please, we want to hear worst, the best, the most medium, whatever. Any
Not
career
the
advice.
medium stuff. No. Just keep it spiky. Worst or best.
We're very excited to hear that and kind of learn from you guys as well. Also, stick around to the end of the episode because I have a work rant that I feel like I need to get off my chest.
And I have not heard this yet, so I'm quite excited. I will stick around to the end of the episode as well.
Thank goodness.
So let's get into the 4 worst pieces of career advice. They sound good, but they're actually maybe slightly insidious, as you mentioned, Kayla. I'll throw it to you. Explain the first piece of career advice that you hear that sounds good, but you actually don't think it's good.
Yeah, so I think this is especially one that you hear early on in your career, and it's you should be the note taker. You should be the helpful one. You should be the one, doing the small things that make a big impact.
Okay.
That I agree with. But be the note taker, I strongly disagree with.
Okay. I feel like there is a lot of anger when people recommend this piece of career advice, and I don't fully feel it, so break it down for me.
Okay, so I have 2 things here. I have why does this feel like it's good advice, and why is it actually bad?
Nice.
So for be the note taker, it feels good because you're like, yeah, I want to be helpful. Like this is something that I can do to add value to a group of people, like in a meeting that I might not be reporting to, that might be super senior. Mm-hmm. This is a way for me to get FaceTime. This is a way for me to stay at the top of the inbox and the top of mind. Totally get that. Here's why it's bad. This is a task that feels like it's additive, but is recognized very rarely as such. It is a task that is required, right? Everyone wants to remember what happened. But by doing it, you take yourself out of the meeting. So let's say you need to, let's say you want to take notes on this podcast. Yeah. If you're too busy writing down what I'm saying, you're not thinking critically necessarily about what it is that I'm saying, and you're not preparing to insert yourself into
that's why I never write down what you're saying.
Exactly, because only that. So I think that there's also it feels very good to be like, I'm helping when I don't feel like I'm adding anything else to the meeting. But then I would be like, then why are you in the meeting?
Yeah.
And so I think you should always feel like you have something to contribute, and you should be doing that instead of doing this task that feels more administrative. Mm-hmm. It shifts your vibe from participant to audience, which then ultimately downgrades your perceived role.
The perception of you in the workplace.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that's a really great breakdown. I had in my notes, it's a non-promotable task.
Yeah.
which I think you've hit on. And then literally like speaking time is like authority perception. So if you're not speaking, there's this perception that you don't have authority, you have nothing to share.
Right.
So like, why are you there? You're only there to take notes.
Right.
And so I love this idea of like, you're actually the audience and not a participant. I think there's also like, I don't have the studies in front of me, but there's like a gender difference here.
Yeah,
where like
100%.
if you're a guy and you're taking notes, like maybe you're proactive and like you're going to follow up with people and make next steps and like you're helping drive the meeting forward. And maybe it's a different perception if you're a female. So just wanted to put that on the table. I think this is, I like your breakdown. I think it's fine, like advice. It could go your way. Mm-hmm. I think there's another way that this can go where like actually taking notes is advantageous to your career. And it's like meeting in the middle of what you're saying and what I'm saying maybe, which is you still need to be a participant. Mm-hmm. But I think that there is this real power in like being a really good, I would say like moderator of a meeting, mm-hmm. which sometimes is taking some notes as well. But like you're setting up the structure of the meeting. You're making sure like, hey, I haven't heard from Bryce yet. Like, I know you have something to say. Like, what are your thoughts here? Mm-hmm. Hey, yeah, like, we only have 30 minutes. We've spent 15 minutes on item 1. We need to move on. Like, I'll follow up after this. And you're kind of keeping the meeting on the rails. You're adding value by keeping structure. Obviously, you can also share your own thoughts too. And that might be a lot to do and keep very detailed notes. But keeping some notes and keeping the meeting on the rails and then following up after and kind of guiding the project, that's where I've seen people actually really grow in their career. And so note-taking isn't their only function. Maybe it's part of it, and that does help.
Yeah. So there's 2 times in which I think this might be a good advice. The first is when you're literally running the meeting.
Yeah.
Like you are putting it together. Like this is all the tasks that you've outlined. I think that is additive and that is viewed as an authority source. The second is when you're taking notes gets you into a room you wouldn't be in otherwise.
Yep.
So it's like if you are sitting in with the CEO, the president, and a client, like yeah, you would not be in that room if you weren't the one taking the notes and figuring out what's going on and sending the follow-ups. Gosh, I don't know why that was so hard to say. So like, I totally get that. But I do think there is this, like, if you're supposed to be in that room and you're supposed to be like, there's a reason why like your, expertise and role is supposed to be sitting in that meeting, you spending it taking notes inherently asks you to withdraw and you won't be participating as much. One note that I'd like to say here is I actually think that this is going to become less and less relevant because I think one of the actual good use cases of AI is the ability to record, transcribe, and summarize what's happening in meetings. And it's been honestly, one of the few AI uses that I've really stuck through.
Yep.
And so I think that this be the note taker. I think it's yes, specifically about taking notes in meetings. I think that particular role is going to become less and less relevant. But I think it's more broadly like, are you doing the like auxiliary tasks to like make your team, your company, your job like function? And how is that being recognized?
Yep.
And like, sometimes you shouldn't be the note taker if you want to continue to advance in your career or be perceived as an authority figure, whether that's taking notes or, getting everyone coffee or whatever it is.
Yep. Yeah, I love that. I am going to remember the like be a participant and not an audience member. I think even if you are taking notes, you still need to participate. If you find yourself just purely being in the audience, that's probably where your career goes to die.
Yeah.
The one caveat I would say is like if you're working for someone that's super high up at the company and maybe like you're their right-hand person and they're like, I need you in the meeting to like take notes as I'm engaging, but then you are being rewarded for that by that person and that's part of your JD, like that makes a lot of sense to me. Okay, that one has been, I'd say 50-50.
I'd say it's
decent advice.
Right, but this
with
is
some caveats.
I'd say it's bad advice with some caveats. But like this is how I think all of these go because you could totally at first glance you're like, "Oh yeah, that's great advice. Like I should be helpful. I should be like making everyone else feel better and like better at their jobs and that's how I get recognized." But I think that's why it's so insidious. It's like that's not actually true. You actually get downgraded in perception.
Great point.
Let's talk about number 2.
Okay.
You want to go through it?
I can intro this one. So the career advice I often hear that I think is wrong is, quote unquote, the more feedback, the better. This is like everyone's obsessed with feedback. You need to be a feedback machine. You need to get feedback from every single person. Always get feedback. That's how you improve. No. Some people's feedback is terrible.
Right.
Some people you should actively not listen to. You might actually do better, get their feedback, do the exact opposite of them. Like, it does matter who's telling you the feedback. That's really, really important. There was a meta-analysis in 1996. I went to the archives. That's like the most cited meta-analysis on feedback. And they actually found that about a third of feedback interventions decreased performance. So feedback's still important. I'm a proponent of feedback. 2/3 of feedback interventions did help. 1/3 didn't. So it means that not all feedback is equal, and it really depends on who you're receiving the feedback from. Do you want to become more like them? Is it relevant to your job? Like, there's all of these caveats. So I think just going out and finding feedback from everywhere and like just like kind of ping-ponging around, like, oh, they said to do this, now I'm going to do that. Oh, someone said to do something else, now I'm going to do that. Like, you're not even in control. You're literally a ping pong ball. That's not good. Finding high quality sources of feedback, looking for patterns, stuff like that, that's really important. But I think just blatantly accepting all feedback, terrible advice.
Yeah, and I think it's like the idea being that more feedback is inherently better, when I think, yeah, exactly. You should be focusing on quantity or quality over quantity. I also think that we have this desire to like get instant like grades almost of like, how am I doing? How is it going? And when you constantly seek that out, even if it's a high quality source, like you have a really good manager, and in every single weekly one-on-one, you're like, I need feedback. I need more feedback. How am I doing? Like, their quality of feedback is going to erode. It's going to get more inherently nitpicky because there's only so much like, hey, generally you should work on making shorter emails or whatever. And then it's like, okay, well, this specific email was bad and here's why. It's just like, okay, now you're getting so deep in the weeds that like your boss is just going to be like scrambling for things to tell you that they can do better, and it becomes noise instead of actionable feedback. So while I think that generally you're not getting enough feedback, like managers are uncomfortable giving feedback and like it's hard. Coworkers are uncomfortable giving feedback to each other. Like, I do think we need more feedback generally, but I think this idea that you should be seeking out feedback after like every interaction, it's the equivalent of like turning the iPad over to get a tip. You know, it's like, I don't think we need that in every single interaction.
Yeah, it'd be like, I mean, you know, sports analogy, like maybe wait till halftime to like get feedback on how you're playing. But like every trip down the court, if you're like, hey coach, like, am I dribbling correctly? It's like, this is too much feedback.
Right.
So I think the actionable advice for you is there's probably two main things. The first is to really think about the cadence that you're receiving feedback and making sure that it's not so fast that you actually don't have time to reflect if it's good feedback and then put it into practice. Like, you need time to actually go and do the feedback and see if it is actually working before you start getting more feedback. So think about the cadence. The second thing is you really have to think about who's giving you the feedback. And the person giving you feedback or feedback in general, it often reflects on both the person receiving but also the person giving, meaning that like they have their own perspective. When someone asks me for feedback, I'm thinking, what would I do in this situation? Well, you're not that other person necessarily, and what works for them might not work for you. So you have to make sure that like you're kind of aligned with that person. You want to become more like them, because if you follow their advice, that is the goal. So like, yeah, if you're taking feedback from someone who's like super successful in your lane, you want to be like, that's good. If you're taking feedback from someone that like does something different than you don't want to be like, well, what's the point of taking that feedback?
Yeah, and this is one of those like classic things where like in every part of your life, like people have opinions and thoughts on like how you're acting.
Right. If your uncle at Thanksgiving is like, let me tell you about how you should be dating, I'd be like, I'll pass.
Right. Like, hey, you haven't found someone and you're 75 years old. Maybe I'll try it myself. No, but exactly, right? Like, people have learned through trial and error what works best for them. And like, they therefore feel that this is this like universal truth that therefore everyone should be doing exactly the same as they did. And it's like, everyone is so different. And so feedback is super important for a variety of reasons, especially at work, because it allows you to correct behavior that maybe is like you're going off the rails a little bit. It allows you to grow. It allows you to like integrate better into that work culture. But I think it's so important to remember that these people are coming from a completely different set of experiences, skills, and knowledge. And so like, who is giving you the feedback matters so much more than how often they're giving it and what the feedback is.
And I think your job as someone receiving feedback is to take all of the feedback and like triangulate around patterns you're hearing. Like if 5 people who are pretty different are telling you like, hey, you could improve on this, that's probably good feedback and something you should consider. If one person's saying, hey, do this, and another person's saying you should be doing the opposite, okay, like they're clearly speaking from their experience, and you probably need to get more data before you decide your next course of action.
100%. And we'll be right back after this. Okay, back to the show. So I guess a question for you is like, have you ever experienced this? Like, have you ever sought out feedback that's like, you know, you get too much of it or it now is confusing to you?
Yeah, well, I think it's making me reflect on, I have this like one-on-one meeting template that I use. And in that, so like for a weekly one-on-one meeting, I have a section that's for feedback. And it's like feedback for my direct report and they can give me feedback. And now I'm thinking, and it's not always constructive. It could be like positive, you know. Now I'm thinking like, okay, maybe I need to switch up that cadence where that's still in there, but maybe it's only once a month. And it's like a little more thoughtful, a little more time to reflect on it, a little more time to change behavior. So it's not, to your point, like the same feedback every single week, like give them some space. So yeah, maybe I'm asking for it too much. And I think it's a delicate balance because unless you're like kind of explicitly asking for feedback, sometimes people won't give it to you, particularly if you're a manager and you're not asking your direct reports to give you feedback. It takes a pretty brave direct report to be like, hey, unsolicited advice, you're fucking up. So there is a balance here, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, cool. Should we go to number 3?
Let's go to number 3.
All right. So this one, I'm actually really interested to hear your take.
Okay.
So the piece of insidious career advice that we have is that you need to fix your weaknesses. Can you maybe explain a little bit about what you are thinking there?
I really do think that fix your weakness is terrible advice.
Interesting.
And I think the entire framing around where this advice comes from is just wrong and will make you worse at your job, will make you worse at kind of anything you want to do. And it's so common. I remember growing up, like sports, it was like, oh, you're not a good free throw shooter. That's a big weakness of yours. You should like lock yourself in the gym and just like shoot free throws until your fingers bleed. Like that's how you're going to get better. And what I think this advice does wrong is 2 things. One, it puts you in a mindset to think about your deficits and your weaknesses, which many studies show then actually decreases confidence. It decreases performance. A skills-based or strengths-based approach does the exact opposite, where you're actually more confident, you're more competent, you feel better, you perform better. So it puts you in the wrong mindset. But 2, it orients your time, the things you should be spending time on perfecting, to things that you're never going to be great at. You're spending all of this time fixing weaknesses to what? Become okay at them, when instead what you should be doing is finding things you're naturally great at and doubling the F down on those and becoming the best in the world, and then using that skill as like where you're going to add tremendous amounts of value. And there was a speaker when I was working at Marquette University that came in that totally changed my perspective on this piece of advice. His name was John Coyle. He won a silver gold medal in the like 4x4 ice skating.
I didn't know that there was a silver gold.
Sorry, a silver medal. Did I say silver gold?
Yeah.
He won both.
Like, okay.
I think he got a silver medal in one of the Olympics.
Sure.
And he was an ice skater, like speed skater. And basically what he told us is he had a really different like strategy when it came to speed skating. He had like really, really like strong quads and could like turn very sharply, but he was like a lot slower on the straightaways. And he kept trying, like his coach was like, hey, you're like slow on the straightaways. Like you need to get faster on those. He kept trying. He didn't make the team. He didn't make the team. He didn't make the team. Instead, then he was like, okay, what's my unique talent? What am I actually really great on that I can get better? And he could turn like on a dime. So he actually hit the turns really, really hard, which is the exact opposite strategy most people do. He made the team then, and he went on to win a silver medal as part of this collective. And he was like, you're never going to change the world going from something you're bad at to being okay. You're going to change the world taking something you're great at and becoming the best in the world at it.
Right.
And I just think I love that approach. Focus on your strengths. Of course, protect your fatal flaws and like make sure that it doesn't take you out of the game. But if you're in the game, focus on your strengths. A much better approach.
Yeah. So this is a really, really tricky one for me.
Okay.
Because I agree with everything you're saying, but like, and I love like the sports metaphors are really interesting because I think let's talk about like the free throw one. Like if you're bad at free throws and you're like, you spend like 6 hours a day practicing free throws and then you become okay at free throws, like, yeah, there's probably going to be like one time in a season where you have to do a free throw and like maybe you get it. Or
Right.
like you're increasing the percentage chances
Exactly.
that you get it. But that is like, there's also like, I don't know how many, 6 people on the team. And like, there's probably one free throw opportunity, if not more, per game.
Mm-hmm.
But like somebody's doing the free throws. So I think the hard thing there is like, we're taking this, like, it makes so much sense when you're talking about like something very obvious, like a team sport or something like this, like the speed skater. But like, if you're really bad at public speaking and then like you have to do public speaking once a week, like you need to improve that. Otherwise you're going to be you're gonna be out of a job.
Of course. But my reaction to that is if you need to do public speaking once a week and you're terrible at public speaking, like terrible, like even if you improve, you're just okay. Wrong career, wrong fit. Like we would do much better instead of focusing on taking our weaknesses to okay level, actually spending time thinking about where are my strengths, a natural fit, what role fits my strengths that I could be almost like flawlessly good at because I'm leaning into things I'm already good at instead of I found myself in a shitty environment. I don't have the right fit. Let me work so hard on my weaknesses so I can be okay at my job. No one wants that.
Yep.
And so going back to the sports metaphor, one, I love that you thought there was 6 players on
How many people are in this?
There's 5 versus 5. In
Okay, I was so close. I was one
You
off.
said one free throw a game. There's like 40.
What?
It was a valiant effort, Kaila.
Thank you. Okay, whatever.
You stuck with my metaphor. I'll use a workplace metaphor. If you're in marketing and like if you really, zoom out, you could say, well, your weakness is in finance. Like you can't do financial modeling.
Right.
When you apply that lens, you're like, well, but I don't need to be good at that.
Yeah.
Like, why would I focus on that weakness? So, like, of course, again, if there's something that takes you out of the game, like you're really good at marketing and you work in marketing, but like your boss requires you to send them an email every week to like be on the marketing team and you're bad at emails, like that is a fatal flaw. It'll take you out of the game. Fix that. But once that's fixed, double down on your strengths. And so I think just starting with this concept of fix your weakness puts you in the wrong mindset from the jump, which is why I think this is very bad advice. My general advice would be like, find out what you're great at, double down, become best in the world, then go find an environment where that makes you a lot of money or brings you a lot of joy, and do that for the rest of your career.
Yeah, this is one that I feel like we could literally talk about for an entire episode.
I'm fired up.
I feel you fired up, and I'm fired up in the opposite direction, and I'm like, uh-oh, we gotta move on. Okay, but I do understand what you're saying, and I think I generally believe that you're correct. I think that like it's so dependent on what the weakness is and like what the situation is and like where you are. But I do agree, doubling down on your strengths over like fixing a minor weakness, 100,000%.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes.
If you take a Clifton Strengths Finder test, which I recommend, I really like, it breaks down all of and it'll give you the worst and your top 5. No one sees that list and goes, oh, I'm 32nd in communication. Let me go spend a ton of time fixing communication. The whole point of that test, which is the most research back of any of the tests, we did an episode on this, is you're finding your top 5 strengths and then you're finding out how to apply those strengths. Like to me, it makes so much intuitive sense that this is the way you should approach your career. So I don't like this advice at all. End of story. We're moving on to number 4.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. Advice number 4, worst career advice, never be the smartest in the room. And I think this one might fire you up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the problem. Let's call this the bonus piece of insidious advice because this piece of advice like gives me the ick. But like I can't really be like, oh, because it's actually bad advice. But it's just like, ugh, like this gives me the same like physical reaction as like somebody being like, oh, like I'm just like, it's just like these like humble brags, like I'm just so good at my job and like everyone, like stop this.
It kind of gives me the like every 6 months you need to be leveling up your friends.
Yeah,
If your friend ain't keeping up, cut them out of your life, get a new friend.
It's like, you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And so if you're around duds, you're a dud. Like, you need to cut them out and like be different. It's like, okay, you're going to be in rooms that you can't control. And also, like, why are you thinking about who's the smartest in the room?
I do an IQ test before I enter any room.
Like, this is, it's crazy. It just sounds like, it's like, I like always like to surround myself with people that are way smarter than me because me, some dumb idiot, like just wants to be around all these smart guys so that maybe their little smart IQ stuff will rub off on me. It makes me so upset. But like, I can't really be like, and now folks, here's why this is bad career advice. I'm just like, ew.
Well, I could take a stab at that part.
Great.
I love your take. I would say one, like I think when it comes to workplace, like I wouldn't say there's like the smartest person in the room, the dumbest person in the room. The goal of a team is that you all have, again, going back to the last piece of advice, different strengths.
Right.
So you should be an expert or the smartest in the thing that you're working on.
Yeah.
That's why you're hired for that function. And it's about bringing that group together, bouncing ideas off each other, like having that kind of cohesive, psychologically safe environment. So I even think once you start thinking about like who's the smartest, you're kind of destroying the fabric of a team, definitely. But two, it kind of feels like you should strive to be the best at what you do. Like my advice would be like, yeah, go be the smartest in the room for your thing.
Yeah.
That's great. You're learning, you're giving your lessons out, like you're helping drive the business. So it just feels like a weird piece of advice that I'm like, I'm not really sure what you're trying to accomplish with it.
It also feels a little like weirdly elitist.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I'm always in these spaces where like everyone is so smart and it's just such a like intellectual like moment. It's like, I think you should be comfortable in any room that you're in, regardless of how smart you are in it. Like,
or just like
stop comparing.
You're just in a room and you're like looking around, you're like, I gotta go. I'm the smartest here. Sorry.
Like,
can't be in this room.
It's so weird to me. And I hear it like kind of a lot. And so I think this is one of those where I like just try not to roll my eyes when it's like, please stop saying this.
Yeah.
And please stop like feeling like this is the way you're supposed to live your life.
Yeah. To assume best intent, because I think we've done our due diligence on ripping this one to shreds. I think, because I've definitely like said this casually before, like colloquially. And I think it means like, it's really helpful to like be in a room where like you're learning a lot from people that you want to get to where they've gone. Or it's a reflection in a humility that I don't know everything and I can learn from other people. So like that I get. I think taken to the extremes and it just kind of, the way it's framed comes off very oddly. So maybe stick away from the framing, but keep humble and, obviously recognize you can learn from anyone.
I think that's 100. I really like the reframing of you can learn something from anyone.
Yeah.
And I think this to me feels like externally like projecting humility when what you're really saying is I'm so smart.
Yeah.
That like
totally.
I have to find like the craziest.
It's so hard for me to find a room where I'm not the smartest.
Right, exactly. And so like I agree with the like kernel, the teeny tiny kernel buried inside of deep inside of this piece of advice. So I'm aligned there, and I think that's like, let's just not be saying this,
I agree. So we've taken 4 what I would say bad career advice. I think we've remixed them and made them pretty good. So you're welcome. But Kayla, there's one more part of this episode.
Yes.
This might be the most important part. A work rant.
Yeah.
I haven't heard it.
No.
The floor is yours.
Okay, so let's put 30 seconds on the clock. No. Okay, so here's my work rant of this week, which is when I say that my calendar is up to date after you ask me if you can put time on my calendar and you still book over a time slot that I have because you assume that it's like a fake meeting or something, you are a bad person and you should feel bad because I have had so many times where I have had someone like book over a block of time that I haven't explicitly said. Like sometimes I'll be like, hey, I have a meeting from 10 to 11 on my calendar. It's not real. It's me time blocking. I'm totally comfortable putting some time on to talk.
Yeah.
But I've expressed that to you. If you're like, this 10 to 11 meeting, that's not real.
Yeah.
I'm going to make some time anyways.
Yeah.
That is so annoying to me.
One, I feel that. Great work, rant. That's going viral. So I hope you know that everyone at Morning Brew is going to be like, was this
me?
Did I schedule
It's so funny.
Calendar invite with Kayla?
It's funny too because it like kind of came out of it came out of me telling someone, you can book over this time.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, sometimes people do, and that is very annoying.
No, it has happened to me.
It is so ridiculous. And sometimes I'll do it to you too. But sometimes I'll do it to you because I'm like, I know you. It's like a hold from 10 to 11 or a hold from 8 to 10 every single morning.
I have a 2-hour meeting every morning.
And I'm like, all right, if he really, he did. Yeah. So maybe I'm also.
Because I like to block I stopped doing that, but I did like to block my morning time. That's a good work, Rant. I like that. Excellent work. Okay, so one reminder, per my last email at morningbrew.com, send us your best and or your worst career advice. You might get featured in a new future episode. We will respond to your email regardless. We love all the emails, so thank you so much. Please, 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 please. Rate the podcast 5 stars on Spotify. My mom looks at how many ratings we have.
On Apple.
And she said if we can get to 400, 500 ratings, she'll give me something great for Christmas. So.
Wow. Okay, so you don't want Kyle to get coal.
I don't want
That's
coal,
like so
folks.
sad.
Just 5 stars. Tell your friends. We appreciate it. It helps grow the show. Should we roll the credits?
Let's do it.
Our producer is Michaela Heck.
Our technical director is Uchenna Waoga.
Brittany DeTaco is our audio engineer.
And our president is Devin Emery.
This show is a production of Morning Brew.
Get some better advice next week.
Enjoy.